What's the audio? Works. Ooh. Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello. Oops, I'm Maria on here. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Natasha. Oh, hey, Susan. How you doing? Tima, we got Hunter. Hunter Telpus. Hi. Folks, can you please post in the chat? We want to make sure that it works. Can someone post in the chat? Oh, perfect. Hi, everyone. So we're going to get started in just a few minutes. Until then, you're going to hear instructions over and over. So if you need to toggle who you want to post to right now, you've got two hosts and panelists. You could toggle it to everyone. And that means all people, the hosts, which is me, the panelists, which of course is Geordie Carswell, and all other attendees can also see your comments and chime in. So feel free to toggle that, share with everybody. And we're so excited for getting this going in just a few minutes. Before we start, can some folks, can anyone post, like, what are you sort of hoping to hear from this? Or maybe talk a little bit about some of your own integrated marketing campaign work that you're doing right now? We would love to hear. Hi, everyone.
Everybody's working on keeping their heads above water for Q4.
Yes. Yeah. Also, it's a event-tober right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Hi, everyone. All right. Jody, Joshua, Fatima, Gina, Hagar. Oh, hey, Hagar. Ooh, Holly has a good one. And this really relates to your keeping your head above water, Jordy. I would like to hear best practices for planning, how to stay better organized. My God, that's something I need to. So that you are set up for success when it comes time to analyze results. That's a good one. Susan wants to know how to map out a campaign to share with her boss, which is great, so that he gets it.
Yep.
We have a ton going on, and the plate spinning can get comical. That's very true for a lot of folks. Yeah. Woo.
Oh, this is good. No, we're going to cover this stuff today. So this is perfect.
This is really
Thank you
good.
for that.
And we'll
Holly.
just give everybody one more minute because it takes a few minutes to filter in. And then we'll get to housekeeping and then we'll get started. And we're so excited for you all to be here. And we're so excited to have Geordie on. Geordie is like, talking to him is like having a master class in marketing. Like, I swear.
As if.
What?
No pressure.
No pressure. Total. Oh, we already got questions coming in.
Oh, this is great. Nice to see everybody.
We're putting the pressure on.
It's 10 o'clock on the West Coast. We're ready to go. I did jumping jacks and everything ready.
And Jordy, you're in Canada, right?
I am. If you can
Ooh.
tell, raise your hand. No, I'm just kidding.
Is anyone here from Canada? Oh, Natasha raised her hand.
Yeah, Natasha's on our team actually. So she's our webinar guru. So I asked her to come and give me notes after. Give me critique.
Cool. And we want to hear your feedback, folks, after the event too. Tell us what you think. Make sure to, I don't know, provide that feedback in some form. We'll probably send an email afterwards that you can reply to with your thoughts. And Natasha says she's ready. All right. So let's get started here. I wish we had some music playing. I always forget that I want to play music in the background before we get webinars started.
What do they call that? Vamping? I think that's
Vamping?
what it is. It a vamp that they never send out the singer but without a warm up, right? So I think they call it a vamp.
Oh, or like the worst comedian that comes out before the famous comedian.
Exactly, to warm you up.
Yeah. That's yeah, we should do that actually. We should figure out how to do that. All right, hi everyone. It's so good to see you. Oh, Susan says her stage entry theme song would be Thunderstruck by
No, that would
AC/DC.
bring the heat. That would bring the energy.
That would. All right, folks, we're going to get started. It is so nice to see all of you here on this webinar. Thank you for joining, for taking the time out of your day to join us. We're super excited to bring Geordie Carswell, who's the CMO at ActualTech Media, here to speak about planning, strategy, integrated campaigns. It's something that's a hot topic, I think, integrated campaigns, but how do you actually do it? Like, what's a good way to start to work through one? And then, as the comments have already started going, to deliver the results in a way that's digestible to the team and helps you make better decisions later. So my name is Gianna Whitver. Some of you know me. I am the co-founder of the Cybersecurity Marketing Society, the world's best organization, community, network to be a cybersecurity marketer in. So we are an association of marketers in cybersecurity. We have a private Slack community that's vendor-free, sales-free, that anyone can join. We have, as long as you're an in-house marketer at a security product or services company. We've got about 2,500 members from around 800 companies, and together we've solved problems in the industry. We help each other, we network, we have a peer mentoring community, and we move the industry forward. It doesn't have to be hard, boring, or lonely in cybersecurity marketing. Join our community and engage and enjoy some of the educational events we put on, such as this one. I also want to plug, and I have to plug, because this is who I am for the next 2 months, is that we have Cyber Marketing Con happening in Austin, Texas, December 10th through 13th. Join us. It is a 3-day event with sessions, education, networking, plus our patented Cybersecurity Marketing Society fun. And it is happening in Austin this year. We hope to see you there. If you cannot make it, there are virtual tickets as well available. And of course, if you are in the US and buy a virtual ticket, you still get a swag bag. So that was my commercial that I had to do. And Geordie, before you intro yourself, I do want to say also that Geordie will be speaking at Cyber Marketing Con. And sorry, I'm jumping the gun in case it's in the deck anywhere, Geordie. And him and ActualTech Media have put on this amazing survey, this really awesome survey. I got a sneak peek of the results, a survey toward cybersecurity folks about their buying habits. Really good data, lots of data, really juicy stuff. For those who are in the society, you saw that we worked on the survey questions together. So that survey will debut at Cyber Marketing Con. So make sure you get there. That was a lot, Geordie.
Well, and thank you for Gianna for sending the jet to bring me down. So I really do appreciate that. I know
it's the private plane.
Yeah, no, that was great. Really generous. Yeah, so we're excited today to talk with everybody, and will be wonderful to meet everybody in person too at Cyber Marketing Con if you can make it. So Gianna, should we roll?
We will. And one last thing, some of you heard it at the top of the hour, but we want to hear your feedback, your comments, your questions. Post them in the chat and put them in the Q&A. Make sure to do that. All right, Geordie, it is you.
All right, I'm going to screen share. If this goes well, I'm happy. And if it doesn't, well, I don't know what to say. All right, so bear with me here 1 sec. All right. We've got our deck ready for death by PowerPoint. Just kidding. We won't do that. There will be a lot of slides though, I have to say. So let me just get my mouse moved over here and we can begin. So my name is Geordie Carswell. I'm the CMO at ActualTech Media. We are an official lead gen partner of the Cyber Marketing Society, as we're excited to be here with you today. I've been personally eating and sleeping tech marketing for about 20 years with a specialty in lead gen, content marketing, integrated campaigns, almost exclusively in the B2B enterprise tech and in the cybersecurity space. Today, we're going to do something a little different. I asked for some contributions from a very good friend of mine, Heather Garcia Meza, who is a Cisco and Gigamon alumni and is now a freelance consultant. I asked her if we could share some of her real life campaigns and processes that we thought would be useful for everybody today. If you need a consultant to help you build out and execute on integrated marketing campaigns and don't want to have to explain technology to them and all that kind of stuff, I highly recommend you get in touch with Heather. There's a link in the slides that we're going to send out via email after the webinar today with a way to reach out to Heather at her Wise and Shine Marketing. That's her. Super cool person. Also, if you'd like to chat with me at any time, I'd love to chat with you. So you can book a time with me, no cost. We just love to talk shop. And you're welcome to do that. We'll send this link out as well. And I think Gianna was going to pop it in the chat if you'd
Oh
like.
yeah, popping
Okay.
commencing.
Yeah, awesome. So ActualTech, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. We are, again, an official partner for lead gen with the CMS. We're part of the Future PLC family, which also owns SmartBrief, itpro.com, TechRadar, and a ton of other channels. But our specialty over the last 10 years, before we were acquired by Future last year, is in webinar lead gen programs, ABM content syndication, and we have a bench of about 45 subject matter expert authors who do all the kinds of things that give you the content pieces you need to run an integrated marketing campaign. So that's my pitch. Next up, let's talk about what is an integrated marketing campaign in the first place. So I thought, this gets batted around a lot, but we'll look at what Google says. And I think the Campaign Monitor explanation here is a good one, and highlighted the areas that make the biggest impact in an integrated marketing campaign. So you've got multiple channels with a consistent message, and the goal is conversion, to get somebody to do something, whatever that is that you want them to do. And so that's kind of the definition we're going to roll with today. Others may have others, but we got to pick something and ride. So that's what we'll go with. So today, I'm going to share with you one of Heather's campaigns that really walks through what an integrated marketing campaign looks like from a sort of quote unquote full funnel perspective. We're going to look at it not just in terms of the messaging you want to push out to just talk about ourselves and how amazing we are, but really a campaign that's focused on helping people move through their journey, solve their pain points. And we want to build a campaign that gives them genuine value, that helps them in their career, in their role, in their goals internally with their projects, to achieve what it is they want to achieve. So we want to help them, not stand next to them with a bullhorn. So we've got a great example that we're going to go through as a way of teaching how this works and breaking things down. Now, there's many different approaches to funnel design. There's waterfalls and backwards funnels and split funnels and all kinds of stuff. But today we're going to talk about just one of these approaches. And please, as we go through this, some of these diagrams are tiny, but the slides will be sent out after via email. So don't sweat it. We'll make sure you get a closer look at everything. So when we talk about full funnel, we have a little DNA diagram here that we use to really show the basic elements of a funnel as we think about it at ActualTech and in consulting with Heather as well. And again, this diagram is something we reference. We placed it here for you to look at later. But we're going to walk through the entire funnel, or sorry, we're not going to walk through the entire funnel and the aspects of it, because these are just very basic that most marketers understand. But it's just our perspective of a funnel as a level set for what we're going to talk about today. We want to acquire people, we want to convert them, we want to turn them into customers, and then activate that and have them, continue to buy from us over the lifetime of the customer. So a little bit of a more holistic view than just a straight sort of MQL funnel. Now, of course, we know that prospects are not always in a downward moving funnel journey. They do what they want. Leads do not say, okay, I've made it through the nurture stage and I'm ready for a call with a salesperson. It just doesn't happen. People are looking at things from their perspective, what their problems are, what they need, what they already know, what they need to learn yet, or don't know. And so they sort of enter into the funnel wherever they please. And so that's why it's really important, if you have a full funnel approach, that you think about it from their perspective. And so we look at it this way, that it means that your integrated campaign needs to be contextual, speaking to the right audience, the right language, connected, so that you're aligned with their current journey and designed in a way that moves them forward progressively. And then consumable, meaning that you meet them with your campaign where they like to be, where they like to learn, where they like to buy. So that's kind of just as a level set, the approach we're taking today. So Gianna, I don't know, do we have the poll? I'd like to sort of get a sense of everybody's comfort level and experience with integrated campaigns. right now.
Very cool. I'm just trying to figure out how to launch just the one question. You know what? It's two questions.
Perfect. Well, if you could
We're
take a
gonna
minute.
launch them both at once, and then we'll
Yeah.
launch it again. Just do the first one. What's your experience with building integrated marketing campaigns, everyone?
Yeah. If you could pop that in. It says hosts and
Ooh,
panelists can't vote.
yeah. Hey, we can't vote. That's not fair.
Sorry, John.
I'm gonna say some to tons, and it depends. And you're gonna say what, Geordie? Tons?
Yeah.
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah.
go tons. We've done a lot, but I'll
While people fill out this poll, we do have questions coming in. Do you mind if I lob one
yeah,
at you?
shoot. Yeah, let's do it. Give everybody a chance to answer.
Okay. So Anonymous asked, and this might, it might be, we might cover some of this later in the slides. And I know you also need to go through your slides. So if you have to answer quickly, that's totally fine.
Sure.
So someone asked marketing campaign tools that work best, which is very broad. So for that person, can you maybe provide a little more context? Geordie, do you have an answer to that? Or you think that's
Yeah, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, you need a good Marcom solution that's gonna and CRM combination for this, right? So whether it's HubSpot, whether it's Salesforce, whatever it is, to pull this off, you need some kind of tool, and even Active Campaign or something like that that gives you the ability to execute on what we're going to talk about today.
awesome? And question asker, if you have more on that,
Yep.
do another Q&A. And then we have we have questions that I think are going to get answered later as well. So we'll hit on those in a second. The poll is over. And we are going to share those results, I think, right?
Wow.
So
Talk about an even split.
You're right. It's like 30, 30, 30. 30% of the folks here, 27% have never built an integrated campaign. 34% have built some, maybe like one or two. And then 39% have built tons. So multiple beyond one or two, three, four, five, six, seven, a million. And then we'll get to the other question on the next one.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's so much more than just we threw some display ads together with an email campaign and an ebook. It's we're going to get into all the different pieces that are involved. So thanks, folks, for filling that in. That gives us some context. So today we're going to look at a framework for building an integrated campaign. And I think this is going to be really helpful for everyone, regardless of where you are, from beginner to expert. These 10 steps are going to cover strategy, tactics, and the human element, because getting humans to do what you need them to do so that you can succeed and pull off a truly integrated campaign is not as easy as we'd like it to be sometimes. So the first step, not surprising, but can get overlooked in the rush to get something put together and out the door, especially if you're in a time crunch or you get budget pressures to get things done and spent. You need to have a specific business goal. So if you look at the funnel and you think about what your goals are you trying to get brand awareness, pipeline acceleration? Are you trying to upsell your install base, increase feature adoption? These are the kinds of things you have to figure out at the beginning. What business goal do you want to advance that will have an impact and move the needle for the business? And you want to make sure that you're looking at that from the perspective of at all goal setting from the perspective of the business first, because ultimately it has to start with a business goal before the other pieces that we're about to talk about come together to align. Now, in the second area of aligning those business goals to the funnel stage, you have to figure out what you're looking to do and then map it over to the funnel. So as I mentioned earlier, if you're looking to generate awareness, then you're not going to necessarily be doing or focusing on customer marketing activities. It's too soon. That's not in line with your goal. So it helps you to focus and buckle down. Once you have your business goals nailed down and you know what stage of the funnel you're targeting, then you can break those goals down and set objectives that you can measure against, which is number 3. So a goal is kind of broad. An objective is very specific. And so we land here on number 4, number 3, setting your campaign objectives, targets, KPIs This too touches funnel stages because, to use awareness as an example, you're not going to put the goal of generating meetings, set a goal of generating meetings if you're simply out there trying to build awareness, really. So there's a bit of a mismatch there. And this is where we need to start to think about objectives and what your objectives strategy is going to be. That will include who you're going to need help from across the organization for your objectives to be met, and then how you're actually going to go about hitting those objectives. And I think when it comes to KPIs and objectives, I was just going to put a side note in here, actually. This is where alignment and buy-in from your leadership really matters when it comes to integrated campaigns. You could view a campaign as a success strictly using the metrics that matter to you. We increased CTR, we had this many impressions, whatever. But if your leadership doesn't view those metrics or KPIs as relevant or mappable to the larger business that they're worried about, your campaign isn't going to be viewed as successful. It's probably not going to be repeatable and scalable for next time, especially when it comes to getting budget. So take the time at this point in your integrated campaign planning to sanity check what you've got for objectives and metrics with your leadership, your board, your sales team, whoever the stakeholders are, who will ultimately decide if the campaign was a win or not, and whether it was a success. There's nothing worse than bringing forward stats and reporting up the chain that isn't impactful to the business. And people are like, great report, looks pretty, who cares, right? That's not what we want to do. And so Heather had a really good pro tip that she shared around this too, to make the buy-in effort, not only at the beginning of the campaign, but to check in with leadership and stakeholders as you're building the campaign reporting templates to make sure there's alignment and that what you're building looks like it's going to move the needle for everyone, or maybe they want to see something else. And so when you're building the templates for how you're going to report on this stuff, do it on a kind of rolling basis and keep sanity checking it to make sure that you're not spinning your wheels. So next, you have to map out your overall strategy, how you're going to get the business aligned, get to the business aligned objectives that you've mapped out. So let's look at this in action. And again, it's tiny, apologize, please. You'll enjoy the slides later, but this is an example of one of Heather's campaigns at Gigamon. This was a campaign that was hyper-focused on accelerating pipeline, people who came in as an MQL, quote unquote, and then got stuck. They weren't moving forward. So what triggered this initiative for her, and the reason she wanted to set up the campaign, is all the feedback that she was starting to hear from the business. She was getting invited to sales kickoff meetings, getting invited to QBRs with sales, going to the sales enablement meetings, maybe even though they were 7 a.m. or 4 p.m. or whatever it was, because they're a global organization. But making the time to listen to sales, because as a marketer, that's the number one way you're going to get inspired from an idea perspective about what is needed from the business and how you can help. So she was plugged in so that she could get an idea of what was going to help with a specific business problems. And she, of course, in doing that, taking an interest in people helps endear you to them, which helps your campaign succeed in the human side of things. She honed in on the fact that what Gigamon in this case really needed was help in accelerating the pipeline, getting early stage leads moving again, and then actually generating sales qualified opportunities from that, or SQOs. So she designed a strategy around promoting a core set of bottom of the funnel content to help with this in an integrated way, in an integrated campaign. And again, her goal was pipeline acceleration. So sponsoring a NASCAR design for awareness isn't going to meet that goal. So she's looking at how we're going to get these leads moving and what kind of strategies are necessary to do that. How can I get them to become sales qualified opportunities? So from sales, she gleaned that there was trouble getting the prospects to see the ROI they could achieve using the Gigamon solution. So people weren't getting it. So she started thinking, okay, how do we take this generalized concept of quote unquote ROI, or return on investment, and help them see why and how they'll achieve ROI without coming up with net new budget, which is another objection that they were getting on the sales front. And so that's where her machine started churning and the ideas came up. that, they needed to communicate a way that they could help people get benefit without net new budget by moving things around instead of net new, and was going to build an integrated campaign to explain why. And so what that meant was she was able to say, okay, based on our MQLs, our current pipeline activity, and our prospect database, email database, and our situation, we can do some initiatives. We can come up with some core objectives to start measuring around and start marketing around. And so she started thinking about how she could map an integrated campaign strategy that would meet these objectives, thinking about the core tactics, etc. So for this campaign, she decided to go with webinars, videos, blog posts as kind of a core format that she was going to use and repurpose. And she wanted to make sure that everyone understand that these were the things that they were really going to hyper focus on. So to review, the objects or the objectives and the targets are the things you're trying to achieve. The KPIs are indicators of whether or not you're on target to hit those objectives. And of course, all of these elements are interrelated. So the next thing, you've got a business goal, you've got a funnel stage that it generally maps to, you've got the objectives that you want to measure progress against, and you've got an overall strategy with how you're going to do it. But you also, of course, need to understand who your audience is, who is the persona before you start building. And now we think about this at ActualTech as well, and we focus on things from a technical decision maker or influencer bucket of personas, and then a business decision maker perspective or bucket of personas. So for each of those, how are each of those personas involved in achieving our business goal that we're indexing for with this campaign? So, what is their role and how can we speak to them? How can we reach them? Each of them, because they may not all hang out in the same place. They may not all respond to marketing in the same way. What matters to each one of these stakeholders? How are they measured? What do they care about? What are their pains? What are their objections? What might be holding them back? And we sort of think about it from that perspective. So this is actually, Gianna talked about her survey work that we're going to be presenting in Austin. We ran a little bit of research here, like how many people are we talking about here, right? When it comes to who's at the table to make a decision, specifically with cybersecurity solutions. And this is like sort of larger companies, sort of 500 people and up, several million in revenue at least. And we're looking at 2 to 5. It seems to be the average in terms of who makes the final call on these things. It doesn't really often seem to be just one person, especially in larger organizations. There's a real collaborative decision-making process. And as you go up in revenue size and in company size, you get into very large buying teams of 6 to 10, not just people involved in the process, but people who make the decision. So just a little teaser there. So 6, we got up to 10 different stakeholders, which means we're building content that will address the pain points of 10 different people, up to potentially 10 different people. CISOs, CTOs, CEOs, CFOs, directors of whatever, and you want to see them, help them to see what it is you want them to do, be it learning more about your company or buying or upgrading, how your efforts to do this, and when they do what you want them to do, will help them with their pains at each of their different steps. So you start thinking about the content involved with that. It's a lot, but not as much as you think. Sometimes it's just a matter of repurposing some content pieces with a different slant and a little bit different introduction, but we'll get into that later. So we need to start mapping out the content strategy. So here's a little more on how Heather mapped out her pipeline acceleration strategy to get her message across. Her messaging was, hey, that hey, you can save lots of money with Gigamon was already being done and pushed out into the market via campaigns their media agencies were running for them. So no need to double down on that. That was covered. So she thought, okay, how can we connect that high level message of, yo, you can save some money here, with the bottom level message of, you can do it without net new budget and by implementing this technology. So incidentally, the middle step in her messaging was about the impact of a network packet broker, which is part of the Gigamon solution. So that was kind of like how you get to the savings without net new budget. So these were the 3 steps of messaging that she was trying to get across in her campaign. And then, you know, she needed to create different content pieces that would move people along from one step to the next. So for her, this involved a lot of content, a lot of custom calls to action that were specific to the personas and things like that. So now you've got your content. We got our strategy, objectives, you know, how we're going to measure all this kind of stuff. Then you get down to what channels are we going to use, where we're going to meet people, where they are, where they want to consume, buy, learn, whatever it might be. So when you think about channels and promotion plans, you need to think about where you're going to place this message and how you're going to connect each step in the funnel or the messaging with another. So she had that sort of micro funnel of trying to get people to see they could, you know, by implementing Net Packet Broker, they could, you know, save more money without coming up with new budget. So here she wants to make sure that each piece of core content maps to the channels where she plans to use it. And so I thought too, there was a really good reminder in all of this that we would share, and it's not to forget about, you know, you get all the standard paid channels, right? You see them here, except for like SEO, stuff like that, although that can be paid too if you want to do it well. But you've also got some no-cost channels. So your BDRs are talking to people, pushing out messaging every single day, and their sequences, their drips, their outreach. You've got your salespeople who are having conversations with prospects every day. Your channel partners, your existing customers and influencers that you may work with, maybe be able to help you amplify the message that your integrated campaign is pushing out. So, and the point here too is to take these assets and recycle them as much as you can. And that will help you execute in all these different channels without having to reinvent the wheel every time. So we have a little diagram here that we showed at the beginning, and it's kind of an outline. And if your eyes glaze over again, it'll make more sense when you look at it offline. But this is an outline of Heather's of what it looks like when you take core assets like an email campaign, a webinar, and a blog, post strategy, and combine them and use them as core assets. And you can see how they're interrelated, how they get recycled, reused, and measured. You can have, for instance, you're shooting video, don't just throw it up on YouTube, embed it in the blogs, reuse it there, reuse it on webinar registration pages. Start to see where the interdependencies are and how you can leverage the content you've already built across additional channels, and hone in on the ones that, when it comes to channels, the ones that are most important, and leverage those, because you may have to prioritize a little bit. Not everybody can do everything. But again, you're not going to do a television ad when you're trying to get people into the bottom of the funnel. It just helps focus your campaign and your channels when you know what your goals are against the business. And then you need to quantify those touches against all these different assets that you've built to start, you know, at least getting you as a KPI moving toward your objective, which gets you towards your goal. And so we see that she's got those touches quantified here. So next up is to align, prioritize, and schedule things. So you've built it out, you mapped it out. A pro tip here, you want to make sure you're documenting everything as you go, not just so that you can get buy-in. This doesn't just live on a whiteboard. It's going to take some spreadsheet work to start mapping this out, and then you can start to look at things in terms of timing, resources, other people inside the organization, and then you can start to rank them to ensure you're spending time, your internal political capital, your external budget, on things that matter. So yeah, this is well beyond just a whiteboard or a mind map. Next, collaboration, strategy, and planning. So obviously you can't pull this off by yourself. I mean, if you're a one-person marketing team and you know, you have a couple of salespeople, you might be able to do some of this yourself. But in larger organizations, giving thought to how you're going to effectively collaborate within the organization and how you're going to get wide buy-in across the organization for what you're trying to accomplish here is important. So you want to make sure that you have, again, not just buy-in at the beginning, but that it's all the way through, and that buy-in doesn't get lost along the way and people forget what you're doing and why you're doing it. And so you want to make sure that your team is set up for success, not just your immediate marketing team, but the cross-functional organizations that it takes to make things like this happen. And then people outside other teams, not just marketing, like I say, the sales folks and things like that. And speaking of that, that kind of actually brings us to roadblocks a little bit. So this includes understanding what roadblocks to success might be popping up along the way, both during the planning process and also when the campaign is being executed. So you can figure out how to either head them off or route around them as they come up. Heather had a good tip. She said one key is having a way of listening to sales, be it, like she mentioned, attending their QBRs, doing your best to interact with them, water coolers, lunches, whatever it might take, or just lurking in Slack and the BDR channels and making sure that you have a real understanding of the objections they're running into, the problems, things that are making it difficult for them to work with the leads and the efforts that you're building. So having a way to tune into those, if you can, matters on the collaboration front too. All right. So one way to enhance collaboration is to make sure that you've got this very, very complete, sort of robust upfront plan that you're working from. So we got an example here from Heather, is essentially a structure that she designed in terms of how to kick things off, how to keep them going forward, how to get everybody working together. Because you really do need to make sure everyone can hopefully manage themselves a little bit independently, and you don't have to babysit every single item on the list of to-dos. And make sure there's, of course, checks and balances that if something's falling down, you're there to pick it up and help kick it forward. And so this framework right here is sort of designed to help do that. And Heather mentioned too, another pro tip, which I thought I'd share, is one of the things that she recommends is leveraging existing meetings as much as possible versus creating new ones for people to talk about your integrated campaign, other stakeholders. So I thought that was genius. So thinking about what it is that you need to achieve and who needs to be there, and then, leveraging existing meetings to make that happen versus this just being one more thing on people's plates. And she said to make those working, quote unquote, working meetings, not just informing people of things that they could find by looking in the project management software, or getting an email update. So she said that helps to keep buy-in strong. Then you need to be able, to operationalize these things and move them forward quickly, you need a high-level outline of all the different timelines and pieces available, and what is needed at each of these phases. And it really, I mean, for the timeline she's got here, it's extremely aggressive. One thing that helps is running with pre-approved messaging, so you're not trying to bake messaging on the fly. Working with, so you haven't got resistance on the messaging front and the copy front. But these are some of the minimum timeframes in a well-designed organization to get things planned and launched. So here we're looking at 2 weeks planning, 3 weeks to begin executing, which includes core asset creation. Your organization might need more time. This is an example, just simply what she was able to do. One note on timelines, a big thing that we see our clients struggle with sometimes is that they get these campaigns built and ready, and we're excited to launch them with them and do our piece at ActualTech with them. And then you run into, it goes headlong into butting up against an event like Black Hat or RSA or some other major thing that's going on. Gianna mentioned it's conference and conference month here in October.
It's Eventtober.
Eventtober, thank you. She heard me flailing there. She's like, let me help him. So that might, if Black Hat's happening, if RSA is happening, if Cisco Live is happening, that may not be the week to launch. So what are other things that are happening out there and other stages of the funnel that we could do to try and work around that? Or could the timing of what you're doing, your campaign, dovetail into a show, into a major event? into other activities, a product launch, whatever it is that might tie into that. So thinking about all those things, factoring in and where how the schedule will be impacted, and whether or not you can use any bumps that come along to your advantage. So how do you keep people on track? Well, when it comes to the campaign itself, the other aspect is making sure that you have the framework and the tools to be able to succeed, to measure twice, cut once, as it were. So thinking about this in terms of, how you're going to create content that could be reused in different channels, and what people will be needed to do that. The creation of a copy kit that you can leverage, that outsourcers can leverage if you're using them, or your teams that are building things for you. If it's all pre-approved copy kits and it just kind of cut and paste, put it together as building blocks, it works quite well. And so if you don't know what you're going to need, creating a quote unquote campaign bill of materials at the start of your campaign or during the planning process will make life so much easier. Because you're not going to get into a channel and realize, oh, we need a white paper, or, oh, we need, a blog post or whatever it might be. You've done that in advance. So this is a screenshot of what it might look like when you're outlining all the different elements and the things you'll need to make sure that you're including both the things that you can do yourself with your internal resources and things you need to outsource. Like, are you going to need graphic support? You need landing pages, you're going to need social, all these different things. You got to map it out here in the sort of bill of materials. And then make sure that you've got the teams aligned and committed to be able to do this in a sequenced way, right? So this goes back to the buy-in piece and getting everybody to agree on the timeline. Now, we give thought to different ways that you can leverage outside resources, because everyone is strapped for resources, SME time, and all that other things that are necessary to get stuff done. So especially for things like writing, which is time consuming and, especially straining on your internal resources. So like, for instance, ActualTech has a bench of 45 subject matter experts that write for our clients every day. We have clients tap into us for that, just so they can get things moving. Another thing to think about is giving thought to how you can work with sales to write scripts for the BDRs that give them context about, what the campaign's about, what the goals are, the kind of messaging that will help them win. Product marketing can be a big help here as well. They may have a lot of the pieces that you need, especially when you're assembling your copy kit. So grab everything you can, look at what you already have before you start creating new stuff. And hopefully you've got some stuff on the bench you can repurpose already. Everyone pitching in to make it a joint effort. All right, number 10. Lastly, making sure you're measuring and optimizing. And there's an expression, measuring to learn. So not just measuring for the sake of itself, but taking lessons forward, continually tweaking the campaign on a rolling basis. Now, obviously, there's lots of things you have to measure for quote unquote engine room metrics. Make sure nothing's broken. Our CTR is 0 on campaign efforts and things like that. We got to go fix that, right? So that's important. But when it comes to the real metrics that you're measuring, make sure that they're hyper focused on the objective you're trying to achieve, and that your metrics align to that, and whether or not your campaign is successful overall, not just tactics. So when you're measuring, here's an example. As I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure you're thinking about what you're wanting to know or measure, and if it matters. So starting with questions, and I like this approach. We're big on this. So like, what is it that I want to know? What's the question that I want answered that relates back to the business objectives? And then you can check yourself and say, okay, Geordie, do you really need to know that? Or are you just curious? Because sometimes we get curious about things that are interesting. We want to measure it, but really everything takes brain space, everything takes energy, resources, and time. And so we want to, it can create noise if we're not careful. So we want to stay focused and not get lost in the data.
Geordie, I want to
Yes.
interrupt because and everyone who's asking questions, we're going to get to them right at the end of this, at the once Geordie finishes the PowerPoint, which I know is
promise I'm
close to
almost done.
Yeah. So Geordie, I actually have a question about what you just said, because you said questions that matter and questions that you're just curious about that don't actually matter.
Yep.
Can you give us like an example or a way to differentiate between the two?
Yeah, I think, there's questions when we say what matters, it's what matters in the context of what your objectives and your business goals were, right? So again, you've got the stuff you need to measure to make sure that nothing's broken, right? That's important. It matters in its own way. But the things that you are thinking about kicking up the chain in terms of reporting and optimizing for, indexing for, those are the things that you really need to focus on making sure they're not too noisy so that nobody can understand whether or not, like, at the end of the day, are we making progress? Was this a success or not? Well, I don't know, but there's charts all over the place. Well, yeah. So does that help?
Thank you.
Okay, great. So clarity and all that kind of stuff. So getting agreement on what to measure. At ActualTech, we give our clients a ton of this data up front so they can decide, what we think is important for the business and what activity they're running. We give people like these red hot lead reports and all this kind of stuff that they can kick up the chain to help make things easier. So remembering full funnel integrated marketing campaigns requires context that has a hierarchy. So there's a structure to it. There's a content strategy. There's channels that are connected to one another. They make sense. What you're doing is for a reason. And then you got to have commitment. You got to have collaboration, and you got to be patient, especially on the human side. Patience is the name of the game. So in review, we'll leave this slide in here, which is all 10 points in the framework as well. So time for poll 2.
Yeah, let's see if we can, let's see if it'll work, because I managed to launch it before when nobody had seen this presentation, and then we're gonna launch it again. So this is gonna be kind of weird results because I don't think it resets, but let's do it anyway. Why not? And while we do, oh no, poll ended. Oh, relaunch poll. Here we go.
Oh, cool.
Cool. I hope we'll probably lose the data from the first one.
It's okay.
We said it out loud, so that's good. So do people feel like they have somewhat more of, how prepared do you feel now? Some of you had never done an integrated campaign. Some of you have. We have lots of questions, and I have questions too, Geordie, for you. And I also want to plug that Geordie was a salesperson in the past. So if you have sales related questions that tie back to integrated campaigns, there was a discussion in the chat about BDRs and BDR messaging. Geordie, you said BDRs are a channel, right? That should be incorporated into your campaign. Maybe can you talk a little bit more about that? Because it's sometimes we're in our marketing silo, and however, the name of the game is integrated campaign. So of course, BDRs as a channel is part of that.
Absolutely. So they're doing outreach all day, every day, touching the exact people you're trying to reach with marketing campaigns in a very, very targeted way, right? So some of them are doing cold outreach. Some of them are working with, early stage, quote unquote, leads to try and figure out what's good and what's not. Those folks, honestly, our clients that have marketing teams that work closely with the BDRs on scripts do really well. So they have, there's less sort of bickering back and forth, and everybody kind of works together because they worked on the messaging together. And, if it's not working, then they can help tweak, and marketing can help tweak as they go as well. So, you've got that outreach messaging. Heck, you've even got, what do you call it? Email signatures, right? The email signatures that are going out, right? If you've got specific messaging, stick a banner in the email signatures of everybody in the organization that lines to your integrated campaign, right? So there's like all these touch points that you can use with BDRs and salespeople and anyone that's customer facing.
That's awesome. That's a good point. Like, hey, where else can we extend our integrated campaign into? I didn't even think of the email signature. You can put a banner there. It's like, hey, we're doing this, and it's an integrated full thing that we're focusing on for Q4, and like put it everywhere, man. That's awesome. All right, let's get into some of our questions. Well, actually, one more comment, folks. I also wanted to, Geordie, I was like smiling and nodding and doing clapping hands when you were talking about alignment and about roadblocks, because a lot of us And I myself have been guilty of this. We put together this beautiful thing, this beautiful campaign in Excel. Oh, we have the channels. Oh, we have the budget. Oh, we have the expected results. And it's like gorgeous. And two problems happen. One, sales isn't aligned. And two, you start to try to work on it. And oh my gosh, it's a lot of work. And then it fails because you don't have resources internal to focus on it. So I just wanted to say that that was those 2 points that you said were really good and things that you don't think about because we get stuck in the like creative, the like, okay, that's strategy. But then it's like, how do we work through it? How can we have these touch point meetings? How can we make sure that everything happens? It's not just the thinking of it, not just the strategy.
Yeah, I mean, marketing can create the Sistine Chapel, amazing artwork, and then the whole roof caves in, right? When it actually opened the doors. So yeah, there's a lot of different people involved, that's for sure.
Evan Carswell also says put a banner on it. And Mark Leon also had a point earlier about incorporating your campaign into those bigger activities during when you were saying RSA Black Hat, right? Yep. Oh, we don't want to do a campaign around then because we're already focused on the campaign of Black Hat, which is a huge thing. Well, hey, stick it. Why don't you merge them together and make it an bigger extended experience across what you're doing? All right, poll questions are up. It looks like a lot of folks found that they're now somewhat prepared or prepared. Mm-hmm. And 2 people said they're not prepared at all and still need help. So if you are one of those 2 people, post your comments in the chat right now, or book a meeting with Geordie. Actually,
I'll help you out. We don't, no obligation. We'll just talk shop and see how we can help. I mean, ActualTech, this is kind of what we do. We, obviously the content creation, because you need all these pieces, especially if you're on a short timeline or don't have internal resources. And then we help with, leads. Our bread and butter is running webinars for leads, and we're really, really good at this, along with appointment setting, to help tee that up, depending on your goal and where you are in the funnel stage. And then we consult with people, and if we can help, great. And if we can't, maybe we can point you in a different direction, whatever it is. So that's that. So Gianna mentioned survey stuff. So in Austin, where I'm sure everyone will be, because all the cool kids will be there. The Monday session, we're going to have, like I say, so ActualTech has a huge audience of InfoSec and cybersecurity practitioners, CISOs, and everything. So we went out to them and worked with Gianna to come up with some questions. Actually, a 2-part survey. One was a buyer survey where we're asking them buying behavior questions. And the other one was an in-depth, like 10-part technology survey, like, what are they doing around API security and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we're going to release both. Some of the questions, though, that we asked, just as a teaser, these were sort of the kinds of questions that we asked in the report. And so I'm excited when we get to December to be able to present the results of this and to share the report with everybody for free and to talk shop with everybody. So looking forward to that.
As I said before, that was part of like the community built that. If you are in our private Slack community, I posted the link to join if you're not a member already. The community worked on that together. We all together formed these questions, and I had like 10 people who were really involved in forming these questions from the society who were like really into it. And then that'll be released at the conference for everyone. Kristen says flights from Canada are expensive to the conference. There's a virtual. Come to see the virtual. It'll be live streamed, so you'll be able to see it. All right, questions from the audience. So we had 2 questions on messaging that I'm going to just roll into one. Anonymous said, what are effective ways to posture a cybersecurity sales / marketing pitch to potential corporate clientele? And I'm going to say that's, security folks at enterprise companies, we'll say. In my instance, my company sells a SaaS product, and I'm trying to see how my marketing team should present our business to mid-sized businesses. Okay, you're going down market then, it sounds like. And then another person in the chat had said, hey, I'm new to cyber, and there's a lot of freaking jargon in cyber, right?
No.
And I'm a marketer.
No.
No. I'm a marketer trying to get my head wrapped around it. So let's start with this one on actually, let's start with the jargon one because I feel like it's very generalized. Geordie, any resources, any advice to folks besides join the Cybersecurity Marketing Society about messaging with or without jargon, since you guys do a million webinars to this audience, what resonates in terms of jargon or no jargon?
Cut it back.
Hmm?
Talk to people about problems. Talk about their problems and what you can do to help. And explain it like I'm 5. I think we underestimate how busy people are. You know, we live in this space. We're looking at researching things all day, every day. You know, we're up on the latest everything, right? Our clients, our customers are drowning out there trying to keep up. So one of the things when we ask IT and cyber pros what their biggest challenges are, the consistent answer that comes up again and again and again is trying to stay current, trying to stay current, trying to stay current. So when we think about that, we often architect messaging like we expect the competitors reading it. We're almost writing it for the competitor, then we want to sound smart for them. And I think that's important. There's a certain level of, you know, you have a certain level of vocabulary that indicates that you know what you're talking about, but at the same time, you can really overdo it. And we can really underdo understanding how busy people are and that they do not eat, breathe, and sleep this stuff. And so, you know, you could, if you got to do it, if you got to use like a heavily technical approach, you could go at it from the perspective of, you know, we're going to do like a 101 first here, and then we're going to dive deeper, right? So you cover both bases. But as you move down market, you'll find the sophistication often drops of the buyer, and because they're wearing multiple hats, you know, they're responsible for security. They're also responsible for the network, and they're responsible for X, Y, and Z. And so, you know, as you go down market, you run into this situation where people are less and less dedicated to a particular role. So, not sure if that's a whole, but I think, yeah, don't overdo it on the jargon.
I think it is helpful. And I think that's a great point. When you're going down market that to the MME, it's depending on how you define MME, like you might be selling no longer to the CISO, but to the head of, you know, security and IT or whatever. So the MME buyer and then the SMB buyer, which is like completely usually just like one person, two people who just run a whole thing and are completely strapped for time. The MME buyer might have dedicated role, might not, and might have dedicated security role, might be a mix, might be a blend, and has much less time and has to do more work with less resources. So that's a good point that, hey, like cut to the chase. I'm also going to plug next month, we are debuting our course, our first ever course that the society is launching with Black Hills InfoSec. So some of you know Jason Blanchard, an amazing content creator from Black Hills InfoSec. And we are launching Introduction to Cybersecurity for Marketers because, hey, we're marketers, but we should know some cybersecurity too if we haven't already gotten into that. So it'll be a cultural and technical overview. And look forward to seeing you there. Sign up for our newsletter so you get that alert when that goes live. And then Victoria Berryhill has an advice for the poster new to cyber. If you're looking for self-education, whatis.com was really helpful to me with the jargon and acronyms. Good. Google it and then keep a list of the answers, because the next person who joins your company who's also not from cyber needs to know this too.
Take that jargon that you're struggling with, stick it in an email, and just send it out to your database of prospects saying, hey, we notice that people struggle with jargon. Here's a glossary, and just see what the click-through rate is on it. That'll start to give you an idea of whether or not people truly get it or care.
Ooh, that's a juicy one, Geordie. All right. We have another question from the audience. So we're gonna say that we answered that one about the marketing and the comms. If you have follow-up questions, post in the chat, put in the Q&A. And there's a lot of people now posting resources in the chat. Thank you so much, everybody.
Oh yeah.
So early in a campaign, how much time should teams roughly allocate to planning and discovering a CRM tool from the view of a 90-employee company first time using these platforms? Okay, I think this ties to the very first question we got, which was, what tools do you need for this? Because like, how the heck what's like the baseline of tech that you need to orchestrate some sort of integrated campaign? Geordie, do you have an answer to that? I could also take it.
Yeah. My thinking is like, you can do some basics with Pipedrive. You can do some basics with ActiveCampaign. You know, basically look for a poor man's HubSpot or or Salesforce. But just think long term. Like if your company's about to blitz scale, don't do that. Like, you know what I mean? So, think long term, but also don't you just start as quickly as you can. It should take, get some demos and pick something and roll.
Yeah, that's a good point. So the society, we chose HubSpot, even though for our own like marketing automation, we send emails, we do all this stuff, even though we know it's expensive. Also, if you're a startup, if you're a VC-backed startup, you can get a humongous discount on HubSpot for the first couple of years. They do like a 90% off, and then the discount slowly goes away. All right, post the link, everyone. Anyone who's written a glossary, post that link. People want to know. Okay, so we got that one. Ooh, so here's a juicy one. We are pivoting to ABM. Actually, Kristen, what tools did you use to build out these charts for planning? These are super helpful. Geordie, what tools? What do you use?
I think so. There was a lot of Excel in there.
Yeah.
There's what is the other?
Is it like a spreadsheet tool? Like a smart?
Why am I drawing a blank on this? Oh, there's one that's really cool called Geru, Geru. When you're mapping stuff, it has like every marketing funnel item. Just look at my phone, make sure I got that.
Geru funnel map creator.
Yeah.
I clicked on their ad. Sorry if you're with Geru and I just made you spend money.
You just spent $86.
Oh my gosh. I'm not a CISO. So awesome. I posted that.
So it'd have a look at stuff like that, but there's a lot of Excel, and then there's a lot of, just simple funnel mapping tools out there. But Geru is kind of cool.
For what you said, the poor man's version of like a beautiful spreadsheet. So I would always build my stuff in like PowerPoint to show, but then like campaign, I would just use Excel for the actual meat of what we need to do and accomplish. You can even do like Gantt chart in Excel with coloring the cells that you need them to. If you don't, Anthony says Miro board. Very good idea.
There's another one.
Next question.
So it was the ABM one, right?
So, yes, we're pivoting to ABM. So I'm curious how this changes, or how you change your perspective.
Yeah, so it goes to that goes to the audience piece, right? So the audience and persona piece includes both a firmographic component then when you're doing ABM, as well as a persona, like the demographic component around who they are and what they do. So basically just adding another layer of firmographic audience persona over top of that. And then you can only work with channels that will help you reach those accounts, right? So then all of a sudden LinkedIn becomes way more important, or, any other ABM. If you're doing like ABM webinars with ActualTech, now that becomes more important, as opposed to, running your display ads on AdRoll with retargeting and things like that. You may just have to shift the channels to make sure they support your ABM goals.
Awesome. Someone sent in a question that just said, LOL. So thank you for that. That was great. So
I don't know how to take that. That's good.
I don't know
Maybe
how to
I didn't like that
either.
answer.
I don't know. Who was that? Do you want to come up? Oh, Jennifer hates ABM.
Yeah.
Oh, Thomas, yes. ABM, account-based marketing. So instead of just saying like, all, SMBs in the financial space, it's like, these like 500 SMBs or whatever. Jennifer says it's so damn complicated. So many personas. Amanda hates Miro. Me too. Okay. Another question. I'm sorry, Geordie. Let us know if you have to drop too, Geordie.
No, I'm good. I love it. This is
okay.
Awesome.
So we did this one. For orgs that are hiring initial marketers / marketing teams that are party of one. Oof, I've been there. Party of one. What skills would you prioritize? Knowing MOPs and digital channels, or brand development? You have to outsource one or the other to start. And I'm of the opinion that positioning and content has to be right, but most orgs prioritize the growth marketing skills to start. Geordie, if you were hiring for your cybersecurity company, who would you hire?
Anything that can be commoditized, I would outsource. So there's a lot of, the digital marketing stuff is all fully commoditizable. Like I would 100% go with an agency, but an agency that specializes in B2B, and even better, an agency that specializes in tech and specializes in LinkedIn, because that's where B2B, a lot of the spend happens. So that's kind of those outsourced components, even some of the content development. As long as your SME can review what outsourcers are writing, like, so for instance, like on the review cycles, when ActualTech writes an ebook for somebody with our subject matter experts, it goes to the SME for review and edit and blah, 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 and make sure it's on message and looks like it came out of inside of your company's four walls and it ultimately gets there. And so again, that's something that can be outsourced. The piece that can't, and even MOPS, honestly, like, you can find someone to help you with that. There's agencies that will do that for you. So really the piece that they can't do for you is strategy, right? They cannot do the messaging creation, the value proposition, the pain and solution stuff. You can, because nobody really understands that as well as you do, especially how your product and solution maps to that. So yeah, I would look at everything that you can, as one person, you can. It's really hard. And if you've got some budget to outsource, do it. And then you become, a project manager of those things.
Yeah.
But definitely the messaging, the solution value proposition stuff, you've got to keep in-house.
So when you're hiring, I'll add my 2 cents because I've been that like first hire, or early hire. So if you're doing a traditional, it also depends a little on your go-to-market motion, and you might not know it yet if you're just hiring the base team. So my go-to basic is like product marketing person and then demand gen person, because product marketing can usually cover strategy, content, writing, positioning, right? If they're experienced enough or have the runway to do it. And then demand gen covers outbound, marketing automation, marketing operations, everything else you need. And then you hire consultants and third parties around that to help support what you're doing. A lot of, again, traditionally, folks start with like a product marketing, VP of marketing person who has product marketing as a background. You don't have to do that. It just depends. It depends on your go-to-market motion. And I happen to know people who are like, yeah, I'd hire marketing ops first. And I'm like, dang, interesting. So mixed messages.
Hope we got something
So
for them to do. You got nothing
Jennifer,
coming into the funnel.
I know. All right. So I think we covered our questions. I mean, does anyone else have a question? We went over time, but there's still a group of folks on here. Do you want to bring up Geordie? I don't know if you have to drop. Do you want to bring up a campaign? You want to show us something? You want to workshop something together? Jennifer wants the deck. Jennifer, can you come up on stage and talk about how you don't like ABM? Can we invite you up? No, she says, well, too bad. I'm going to go in the, let's say, oh, I don't know how to invite someone up.
No.
You don't have to come up, but I did. If you want to be a panelist, coming up and we can talk about ABM. Anything else? Anything else, folks?
I love this one comment. You marketing guys are worse than cyber guys with acronyms, right? We're such hypocrites. We're like, don't use acronyms.
I know. I'm sorry. We're sorry, Thomas. It's all ABM and CTA, which means call to action. That's a really good point. We have one last Q&A that came in. Oh, SEO. So you had said SEO is a channel, Geordie. So we got just a comment. Oh, Thomas Scott, raise your hand. Thomas, do you want to come up? You want to come up on stage? I'm going to invite you as a panelist. Brian, do you want to come up? Your hands are raised.
All right. Nobody mock me about acronyms, though.
Okay. So there is one last question that came in. It's more of a comment. SEO is very problematic as Google is about to change a ton here. I'm going to throw this into the chat so everyone can see.
Google's changing everything every week lately with updates. Just as an example, I mean, we spent, I want to say, about $250,000 investment at ActualTech into SEO over the last couple of years. And the first 18 months was a big, like, why are we doing this? We're not getting the results we wanted. And then as soon as you got past the 18-month mark with links and link building and content creation, then it started to pay off. So it's expensive because, you'd love to think you could do it organically, but that just requires more time. And so if you can add some budget to like light it on fire and get it going quicker, and even then it was still 18 months to ROI. So do most organizations have the patience for that? I don't know. It depends. But now that it's up, and now we're just sitting there waiting for a competitor to take us out, right? So we got to keep working at it, and because it's not permanent, but it does have a little bit of a passive element to it. So, but honestly, like for most niches, and if you're in cybersecurity, you need to budget big time, like big time for link acquisition and content creation. That like think $300,000 to $500,000 to start ranking highly. And so you got to decide, unless you've got some unique angle that makes everyone in the press want to link to you, which is
Well,
cool.
yeah, I mean, I'd say to add to that, Geordie, I think 300 to 500,000 if you want to link for like a really hot
ransomware
keyword,
yeah.
Right? Like ransomware or something like that. But then if you have some weird little niche that you're in that you could rank for, like an emerging category, like that might not cost that much, because it might be one of those long tail keywords, one of those sort of like lower traffic, cheaper, easier to compete for. I've had some success in that sort of area, but I've never tried to rank for like ransomware. Jennifer says, is it me or all SEO agencies clueless? Some of them are. You can ask in the society about the agencies that do know what they're doing in cyber.
So here's my take on that. Most SEO, quote unquote, SEO agencies are just reselling somebody else's link building services, right? So they're white labeling someone else's services, and you are basically, you're paying triple what the market rates are for this stuff. And it's like, basically, yeah, it's just white label of other stuff and with a huge markup. And
wow.
they don't get the industry. They don't understand who the link targets are. It's really finding one that specializes in tech is not easy.
It's not. So it's always good to ask. I think the way to find great people is to ask your network for that sort of stuff. Like we are all inundated with what Jennifer just said in the chat again, like hey, we'll get you to the top page. It's like, okay.
Here's a pro tip. Just go to Fat Joe. I think it's fatjoe.com and get it yourself, because that's where all of them are mostly getting their links from anyway.
Oh, cool. I did not know. This is like secret stuff.
Yeah, it's they're kind of the gold standard of paid acquisition. But I mean, they do a lot of like other stuff too, but my iPhone won't type J.
I'll find that link and I'll share it out with everybody. All right, you might have heard that phone call. I am actually late to another meeting, it seems. So this has been really fun. Geordie, I think we have to have you back on. I think we should all work on a campaign together, like our own campaigns. I think we should get the templates going, and then we can all build a campaign. Make sure to check out the Cybersecurity Marketing Society, everybody. Make sure to check out our upcoming events. We do lots of webinars on the topic of marketing, specifically in cybersecurity. Like I said, we have our conference coming up in Austin in December, virtual and in person. Geordie, how can people talk to you and learn more about you? I know you have a podcast too. Like, tell the people.
Yeah, so we've got the Tech Marketer Live podcast on all your favorite platforms, and hit me up for a meeting if you'd like to. And we'll also send out an email with the deck here, and I'll send it from my personal email, so you can just reply and say hi if you'd like.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on.
Thanks,
you
everybody.
For supporting the society, and thank you for speaking at our conference. We can't wait.
I'm excited. I'm so excited for the Learjet. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.